In today's video, I'm going to tell you guys how in the last 500 days I've had zero alcohol. I'm going to give you five things I've learned, five reasons why maybe you should consider taking a break. Maybe you should consider stopping. Maybe you've already stopped. Maybe you want to stop. Maybe you're looking for ammunition. You're looking for ways to help yourself get over that line. But we're going to talk about money. We're going to talk about health. We're going to talk about the spiritual benefits. We're going to talk about marketing. We're going to talk about the subconscious mind. This is a video I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I'm excited to finally share this with you.
Hi, Mom.
Yeah, so it's been 500 days since I've had a drop of alcohol, and 500 days since I've had a drop of alcohol, and I wanted to shoot a video today. I'm making a video every single week on this channel, and I could not think of a better subject to talk about because this is something that has completely changed my life. And if you watch this video and you hear some truth, or this resonates with you, or this starts to hit home for you, or maybe you've already quit alcohol and maybe, this is some stuff that you can relate to. Um, that's what this is all about. This video is number one. This video is not for me to judge anyone. It's not for me to brag about what I've done. It's not for me to try to, act like I'm better than anyone else because I'm not. I drank from when I was 17 till I was 35. And, I have had a lot of time now over this last 500 days to think about this and to um, process this life decision. I don't want to tell you guys a bunch of stuff you've already heard. There's a lot of stuff. If I do tell you something that you've already heard, well, here's the deal. That might be a good thing because sometimes our brains, excuse me, sometimes our brains need repetition. We need to hear things over and over and over and over again before it finally clicks and we're like, oh, like maybe I should listen to this, or maybe I should pay attention, because I've had there's a few things I want to touch on, and I was going to script this video, and I was actually going to make an outline, and then I was going to script it, and then I was going to put it into the teleprompter, and I was thinking, you know what, let me make it really professional, really make sure I add a lot of value. But I just feel like I'm just going to speak from the heart on this because this is a sensitive topic. This is a topic that hits home for me and probably for you and many of you guys watching, because we all have people in our life that are struggling with alcohol. I mean, I have friends right now, very good friends that have been to rehab, um, more than once, and they're still struggling. I have friends that phone me and they say, "Hey, I have a friend that, they if they keep drinking, they're going to kill themselves. They're going to die. They're going to drink themselves to death, or they're going to have an alcohol related death. And can you help them?" And it's interesting because once we make a decision, I heard a quote that is super powerful, and it's that, we're really good at making choices. We make decisions. We probably make 75 decisions a day on, what are we going to wear? What are we going to eat? What are we going to drink? Where are we going to go? What car are we going to drive? Well, if you have one car, it's that car. But what am I going to do with my afternoon? What calls am I going to make? These are all choices. Okay. But decisions are different. We are great at making choices. We're not great at making decisions. And for me, making a decision, and my beautiful girlfriend made the decision the same day as I did. We both had a long history with alcohol. Not that we were alcoholics, not that we would be considered like we were drunk all the time, or we'd never been to treatment or anything like that. We just were social drinkers. We would go to parties. We would go to the grocery store, grab a 6 pack of beer. to have a beer with dinner or beer at the barbecue, or we would go out. I mean, I was in being in network marketing for a long time. I mean, you're out all the time with people, whether it's meetings or you're showing someone the business, or you're taking your team out, or you're having people over. And it's always, well, let's get food and let's get alcohol. You're going and you're buying wine, you're buying, whatever you want to do to entertain you want to entertain people and take care of them. So it's a big conversation. But first of all, I want to say I don't judge anybody. I wasn't, if you're not ready to stop drinking, I get it, because I wasn't ready to stop either for till I was 35. I drank for, 18 years, which is pretty crazy. If you think about 17 to 35, that's 18 years of drinking alcohol. And what's interesting, I saw a statistic the other day that this generation, this young generation, the new generation, they've spent a significantly less amount of money on alcohol. I'll try to find the graph. I don't even want to say the numbers, but it's people are drinking less now. The alcohol free beverages are on the rise. I mean, there's companies out there that have, in 3, 4 years since inception, have been valued at 50, $60 million. There's an opportunity out there. There's a market, and sometimes I'm like, shit, I should get in that market. I should get into that because, um, sometimes I'm like, geez, I should get into that. I should start an alcohol free beer company or beverage company or something. But, that's not my calling. That's not where I'm moving in that direction. I'm not moving in that direction right now. But the point is that there's a lot of people that are waking up to this. And I think one of the biggest things for me, I'm just going to speak from my experience. From my experience, the more that I researched alcohol, like when I was in college, I smoked a cigar, and then those little cigarillos, and then went to cigarettes, and then smoked weed, in college, and it was like this thing. It was just you smoke. And when I quit smoking cigarettes what was a really tough one. And the thing that broke the cravings, and the thing that actually gave me that willpower to quit smoking cigarettes, was I had to get educated on what's in a cigarette. I went to this class and I sat down in this classroom with, I don't know, a whole bunch of other people. We'd all paid to be there. It was just kind of a night class at a college in Calgary. And I sat down at this class and I'm going like, make sure these are on. I'm I'm going like, I really don't want to be here, but I volunteered to be there. I paid to be there. And they just basically broke down for an hour and a half, 2 hours, all the carcinogens and toxins that were in cigarettes. And I remember driving home, and I remember throwing my Export A Golds or Next Golds or whatever. I was buying the cheap ones out the window. And then about 30, 40 minutes later, I'm like, oh my God, I got a craving. And I pulled over and I bought another pack, but that only lasted for a couple weeks, and I eventually quit because once you know, like once you learn what's in it, you can't unlearn it. You know what I'm saying? And so from there, once I, spent 18 years socially drinking, and, you know, spent a lot of time around people that, they would try to quit drinking, and they would buy books on how to quit drinking, and they would say, "Oh, I gotta quit, I gotta quit, I gotta quit," but they couldn't quit. Those things hit you pretty hard, and you realize, like, man, this is a battle. And then I would see, like I said, I have friends that have been to rehab. I have friends that have had DUIs, drunk driving, driving under the influence. Thank God, by the grace of God, I never did. But we've all driven with a drink in our system. It's been done by everyone. So no judgment on anyone. But it's like seeing how hard it is to quit really made me also think about, okay, what's really going on here? What's really going on inside of our body? But as we know, as people who are spiritual, or have had a spiritual awakening, or have a relationship with God, or have had a spiritual maybe experience or two, in your life, or if you're conscious or aware or awake, or your awareness is increased, whatever you want to call it. You know, it's a combination of a lot of these things. But as your awareness grows, you start to realize, and this is what happened to me, is that I started to realize that this is a spiritual thing. This is not a thing of willpower. It's not like I can just, with my own willpower, decide after 18 years of, putting this poison. It's a neurotoxin, is what alcohol is. Again, back to me doing a deep dive and looking into this and really studying it. It's like, this is a neurotoxin. It is poisoning my brain. It is poisoning my body. It's poisoning my cells, right? And it's this crazy battle that happens in your mind, because you go like, but the marketing is so cool. The marketing is amazing. Our subconscious mind has been, there's been impressions on our subconscious mind hundreds of, probably thousands or hundreds of thousands of times, on ads on your phone, on watching hockey games, watching football games, watching baseball games, pretty much any sporting event, which alcohol and sports have nothing to do with each other at all. No, you're not going to increase your athletic ability by drinking, right? But it's crazy. Like, you think about, if I watched hockey my whole life, when I was, maybe 12 years old till I was in my early 30s, every hockey game, how many beer commercials did I see? How many ads on the billboards or on the boards on the ice? Or, you look at the marketing for alcohol, and it's subconscious programming. So I've done enough learning and studying and personal development, people like, Bob Proctor and Alex Morton, and people that I've just studied so much of their stuff. And it's like, the subconscious mind, once you impress something thousands of times in your subconscious mind is like, oh, it's normal. That's, it just is what it is. You believe that thing because your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference. And so that's another thing, is we've been programmed to fail with alcohol. We've been programmed to think that it's good, that it's necessary, that it's normal, that we need it, that it's healthy. I mean, how many people would have seen this? Like, put a comment below if you've ever heard that tequila's healthy. I remember having this debate with a friend, probably a couple of friends, and just saying, yeah, you know what, I'm starting to work on my health a bit more, and so I'm just going to switch to tequila. you know how many people have heard that, or maybe you've said that before? And it's like, we have literally been, we've been marketed to, we've been sold to. And that's one thing. Okay, but the more that you actually go and study what's in alcohol, where did it come from, um why is it even called alcohol? Why is it called spirits? This leads me to the next thing about the spiritual side of it, is I really believe that it's spiritual. I believe that there's a reason why it's called spirits. There's a reason why, if you were to, if you were to say, okay, if you really, if you look at how difficult it is to quit, and then you look at what it does to you, and then you look at how it impairs you physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, it puts you on this vibration. When you wake up in the morning, there's the Hawkins scale, right? I'm gonna put that here, the Hawkins scale of where they've actually calibrated human emotions. And if you've never seen this, this is crazy, super powerful. You look at the bottom of the scale, and it's fear, guilt, shame. How many times have you had a drink and woken up in the morning and felt even a little bit of guilt or a little bit of shame? I know for me, probably from day one. I remember the first time I drank beer. I woke up the next morning and I was like, feel a little guilty, you know? And you can what's the word I'm looking for? Like, you can justify it, right? Justification is there. You can justify it and be like, oh, but it was a wedding, or oh, but it was a birthday, or oh, but it was we had a good time, or I talked to that girl and got her number, or I ended up networking like a boss, and there's always these different ways to justify these things. But the reality is, you know, I really, I'm going to say this. I believe that we cannot, if you have, if alcohol has become a stronghold in your life, or alcohol has become a spiritual thing in your life, and I believe it is for pretty much everybody. I don't think that it's not a naturally occurring substance. Like if you go back, I was just reading Genesis 1, 2, and 3. I posted about it today on my social media. It's like we were created in the image of God. And if we were created in the image of God, God said we are going to make man in our image and in our likeness. And then it talks about the plants and the fish and the birds and the animals and the beasts of the field and the creatures that walk the earth and the trees and the fruit and all these things. And it's like we've been given everything that we need to be healthy, to nourish ourselves, to have nutrition, to have food, to have what we need to live. We the things like the things that are man-made, right? Like a cigarette or like alcohol or like these are all things that were created, number one, um, with the intention of a product to make a profit. So somebody created this and said, "Hey, I can make a profit off this, and I can make a lot of money off this." Well, and then they said, "Well, where can we get the most eyeballs on this?" Right? And then you look at marketing and you look at how it's been sold to us as something that's good, but there's a shift that's happening. This shift that's happening is as people are becoming more aware, people are drinking less. I know I'm not the only one. There's probably thousands of videos on YouTube talking about, quitting alcohol and what people have learned. But, I just want to share my story. So going back to the spiritual stuff, it's like, I believe in God and I believe that God created me for a purpose and has a purpose for me. And same thing for you. If you're watching this, God created you for a purpose too. And if you have something that is, if you look at alcohol, and I really believe this. I've had multiple conversations about this now and multiple confirmations, but I believe that if you have a problem with alcohol, God needs to give you freedom from it. There needs to be a spiritual freedom from that thing, from that vice, that addiction. It's not something that you can just do with willpower, right? You can't just say, "Oh, I'm just going to power through this," or "I'm just going to one day wake up and be like, I'm just going to try really hard and I'm going to break this." This is a spiritual thing. And I believe that what's cool about that though is if you pray and you say, "God, give me freedom from this," he will. He'll show you how. He'll bring people into your life. He'll bring information into your life. Maybe it's a book, maybe it's a video, maybe it's somebody just sharing their story, their testimony about how they became free from it or what it's done for them. And that can be that can happen for you. That can happen for you too. And you can have freedom from it. And I have friends right now that I'm actually literally praying for every week that God gives them freedom because they can't free themselves from it. That's why I think it's spiritual. Okay, so now I want to move on here. So let's talk about health. Okay, if you look at these pictures of me from when I was drinking, beer in the pool, or I'd have a tequila for dinner, and then another tequila after, and then another tequila before bed, and then go for lunch and have a beer at lunch. Like this was kind of just I sound like an alcoholic, but I'm talking like when I lived at the beach in Costa Rica, that was kind of the flow. And then before that, living in Canada, you go snowboarding and you're in the chalet at lunch and you have a couple of beers, right? That's normal. That's normal. You look at like I said, waking up in the morning, feeling shame, feeling guilt, even a little bit, you're starting your day off in a negative vibration, right? In a low frequency. And feeling is conscious awareness of vibration. So if you feel like shit, right? If you feel like you wake up and you're like, "Dude, I'm got a little brain fog, a little hungover, maybe a little headache, maybe just not very clear, maybe feeling a little sluggish, a little tired, maybe I just want to chill, maybe I just want to have a hot bath, put my feet up, maybe catch up on the news, or just low frequency, low vibration, like you're just if that's how you're waking up, even after two drinks, and trust me, as you get older, one or two drinks, like you feel it, the people, older people watching this that are, 35 plus, um, you know what I'm talking about. It's like, why would you want to do that to your body and your mind and to your health and wellness? Like, why would you want to start your day that way? Okay. So, but let's talk about health in general, because if you look at, on a cellular level, I can barely talk right now. Your body cannot burn fat for 24 hours after ingesting alcohol. So if you drink one beer every other night, and I know guys that do this, I know hundreds of guys that do this, or and not just guys, but I know women, they have a glass of wine every other night. For 24 hours after you drink alcohol, any amount, your body cannot burn fat. So you just get into this point where you're like, oh, my body, okay, now going to give my body a chance, my cells a chance to actually start to metabolize fat and actually, you know, I want to look better. I want to lose weight. I want to get my body fat down. I want to look good. I want to look lean. I want to, have that physique or have that body that I've been working for, right? I go to the gym. Why am I not seeing results, right? One drink every other night literally inhibits you from burning fat. So that's one thing. The second thing is mental health, right? Like we talked about, you wake up in the morning and you're feeling guilt and shame and you're in this low frequency and this low vibration. It's like your mental health is everything. Your mental health is something that needs to be protected. It needs to be strengthened. You need to have tools, and you need to have, that's one of the things I do in my program is I teach the guys in my program tools to help them with their mental health. And one of them is cutting out alcohol for 90 days. And most guys, once they cut it out for 90 days, they'll never drink again, because we start to understand, we start to see like, dude, this isn't serving at all. Like, one thing I did, I made a list when I was starting this journey, and I just put down, this is something I've done for a long time. I have the way my brain works, for me, it's easier when I'm making a decision to do one of these lists. So I put, you know, this right here, and then I had all these things. Oh, right. Here's my pros and cons list. Well, my cons list was about this long. I probably needed even more paper. My pros list, I didn't have a single thing on it. There was not a single thing, a single benefit. I could not find one single benefit, right? And maybe you can comment and you could tell me a benefit of alcohol, because I can't find one. But if I look at the cons, just strictly from the health perspective, not talking about the money we spend, not talking about when you try to come up with one benefit, okay, for your health, there's none. But what it does to your body is it's a neurotoxin, it's a poison. And, for me, I was in this place for a long time where I was like, I can't make progress. I felt stuck in my health and fitness. I felt like I wasn't getting to where I wanted to go. I was like, I have this extra 10%, this last 10% of body fat, this last 10% of my physique, my last 10% of my energy levels. My sleep was never really good, right? And that was something, I started to sleep way better. When you drink before bed, you sleep terrible. You sleep, you have a terrible sleep. But my body fat dropped. You look at a photo of me from before until after, and you can see like people are like, wow, dude, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I stopped drinking, number one. But I mean, I cut out a lot of things out of my life, and I have other videos here on my channel where I talk about all that. It's not the things that we don't know, right? Like that's one of the things that I think about a lot and I talk about a lot with clients and stuff. It's like this gap between knowing and doing, right? It's the biggest gap in the world. It's like we know it's not good for us, but we don't make a change. And there's this huge gap. And in order to close that gap, I think it's awareness. It's you know, number one, understanding that it's no longer cool to drink. Okay. So if you think it's cool to drink, it's not anymore. It just isn't. And you look at, here's what I want to say. You have the education. Go educate yourself. Go spend I know people that'll sit with a case of beer and they'll sit there for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours just drinking, bullshitting, talking about politics, economics, nothing, bunch of nothing, things they can't control. Take those 3, 4, 5, 6 hours and go educate yourself on what is actually in alcohol and what it does to you and the origins of it, why it's called alcohol, why it's called spirits, right? I'm not going to go into all of it, but you go look back and you really do a deep dive, not on the first page of Google, but you really do a deep dive on this and you see what this is. Okay. Then you go and look at the marketing and you study the way alcohol has been marketed to us for the last 100 years. And then you look at the spiritual aspect of it, right? And you start looking around at the people that are dying from it, that are struggling with it, that can't stop, that have are going to rehab, spending tens of thousands of dollars on rehab, trying to get out of this vice that's got them locked, right? And really start to ask those questions like, is this something spiritual that I need to get freedom from? And then look at the health benefits, okay, of stopping and the health consequences of continuing to drink. Okay. Then you throw in all the other stuff, like how much money you've spent in your life on alcohol. I mean, I went out for dinner with some friends one time, and they bought $1,000 bottle of wine, and sometimes it was a $200 bottle of wine, right? But it was kind of like, well, the dinner wasn't really a good dinner, or it wasn't a memorable dinner unless the wine was decently expensive. Nobody buys a $15 bottle of wine at a dinner and remembers, oh, this was an amazing dinner, or this was a classy experience, or that, it's like, again, it's like, and again, if you're in the wine business, I have friends in the wine business, right? It's a big business. Maybe you've been in your family business as a wine business for generations, and I have respect for that. I mean, this is an art form and it's a craft and it's been around for forever. But I'm talking, let's just look at the average person, right? Of all the other reasons that I listed, but the money that you've spent or the money that you do spend. And then look at, in addition to that, just look at, where your life could be, who you could become if you decided, what if I took a year off? I mean, when I started this journey of deciding I'm cutting alcohols, November 28th, 2023. Turns out that's also Independence Day. That's a holiday here in Panama for independence, which I found out after, and I was like, wow, you know what? That's kind of cool. But this is a real conversation. And that night, the previous night, I had too much to drink. Went to a house party, which was really like more of a barbecue and grilling steaks and drinking nice wine and just sitting around meeting people, meeting a bunch of people we didn't know and having great conversations, building some relationships and starting to just enjoy the evening. But as the evening went on, I ended up having too much to drink, and I woke up that next day and I said, you know what, enough's enough. And I decided, like, I'm taking this out of my life. And it's funny because the first month is kind of, you think about it, the first few months, it's like there might be a craving here and there. But guys, it's been 500 days. And 500 days later, I can tell you, I have zero cravings. I have zero interest. I have no interest in drinking. It seems like something that's been, that's in the past and it's out of my life. And honestly, I have no desire to ever drink again. Now, like I said, you might not be ready, but maybe you are ready. And maybe this video can help you. And I hope this video helps somebody that's watching this to just say, you know what? I just needed permission. And I watched this video that Rich did, and now I got permission. I can quit. And I don't have to let this. I mean, I've gotten so many calls from friends, young and old, some of them good friends, some of them acquaintances, but people messages, texts, dude, that's so badass that you were able to quit, man. That's so amazing. And what's cool is uh since I started working with people one-on-one and coaching people one-on-one in this last year, a lot of my clients have completely cut alcohol out of their life for good. And not only do they drop a ton of weight, not only does their health go crazy, not only does their energy go crazy, their sleep goes crazy. Your libido, your sex life improves, your libido improves, your mental health, your mental clarity improves, your muscle development improves, like all these things improve. And again, it's like there's a million cons, there's no pros, right? But I get so many messages from people just saying like, dude, like I need to get this out of my life. You know, even friends calling saying, "Hey, will you be my accountability partner for 75 hard?" Because I feel like 75 hard. I know a lot of people right now doing 75 hard to try to stop drinking because they're like, I need to something extreme. I need a program. And this is the last thing I'm going to say is um, first of all, I couldn't have done this without God giving me the strength and God giving me the freedom from this because I truly believe this is a spiritual thing in my life. Number two, this is probably the most powerful decision that I've ever made for my health, but also for my life. Like if I look at what I've been able to do in the last 500 days, I've started my dream business, started to build my personal brand intentionally and grow my personal brand more than I ever have. I have moved to my dream place to be. I've been doing this Bob Proctor meditation for years, and he says, "You're living where you truly want to live," right? Well, I'm living where I truly want to live. I'm doing what I truly want to do. And this is stuff that I've been meditating on and visualizing for years. I finally started this YouTube channel that you're watching right now. So please like and subscribe and stay tuned because I'm going to be posting every week. And I'd love to be able to give more value to you and tell you guys more stories and tell you guys, more things that I'm learning and just continue to take you guys on, amazing trips with me, like going to do the CPOD tour. And there's more cool stuff like that, travel stuff like that coming up, health, fitness, performance, mindset. But this was something I wanted to do for a long time. My confidence has gone up, you know, my level of confidence inside and outside, but really inside, trusting myself, having confidence in myself, knowing that, you know what, I'm letting go of fear and stepping into more faith. All these things have started to happen. My relationships are better. I don't spend nearly as much money on, going out for meals, going to the liquor store. I'm traveling, I'm drinking, I'm going to eat, I'm drinking, I'm having people over, I'm drinking. The majority of my friends now, what's interesting is the majority of my friends, like if someone comes over to my house, they are not expecting to have a drink. And the majority of them don't drink either anymore. Not because of me necessarily, it's because I've attracted now friends and people into my life that are on the same page. And that's the cool thing is, it's become normal, but it's also, if I really reflect and look back, this has been probably the best decision health wise, but also the best life decision I'd say I've made in the last couple of years. And I just want to encourage you if you're ready to make a change and actually stop, comment, leave a comment. I'd love to have a conversation with you. Click the link below if you want as well, and you could book a game plan call with me, and we could talk about how I could even help you over the next few months to just have a plan and have a program and have some accountability and have also alternatives because I built a whole list of alternatives. So when you go out or you go to the store, or you go to a restaurant or even a bar, I have a list of safe and alternative drinks that you can get that'll just you're still gonna have a good time, you're still gonna have a blast, you're still gonna enjoy yourself, you're still gonna feel great, and you're still gonna wake up the next day and the difference is though is you're not going to have any guilt and shame. You're going to have you're going to be proud of yourself, but you're also going to feel joy and happiness and peace, which is at the top. And you're just going to stay in a high vibration, and that's what it's all about. So I would love to have the opportunity to speak with you. I'd love to have the opportunity to work with you if this is something that resonates. I work with high performers, high achievers that want to develop lasting discipline, that want to learn how to become more powerful leaders, that want to have more energy, that want to reclaim their energy, their vitality, and their fitness, their health, and really just perform better. That's what I do. And so if that's something that you would like to have a conversation about, go ahead and book a call with me down below. And also, go ahead and watch this video next, which actually breaks down how I transformed my health and my body and all the other things I did, not just the alcohol, but all the other things that I did, and see some stories of some of the other people I've been working with as well. But guys, appreciate you watching this video. It's went a little bit longer than I anticipated. But I had a lot of things to say and a lot of things to get out. And I hope that you will share this maybe with somebody that might be able to get value from this. And appreciate you guys watching. And we'll see you guys on the next one. All right, take care.